name is Wendy Sanderson, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Skagit County, I'd like to welcome you to this forum on candidates running for Skagit County Commissioners. I'm going to be serving as the moderator this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We don't support or oppose candidates. We encourage the informed and active participation of all citizens in government. We want to acknowledge the candidates participating in the forum with us tonight, and we appreciate all of you who are viewing this recording. We hope you'll find a lot of information here about those who wish to represent us. Each candidate will be invited to make an opening statement and a closing statement of 2 minutes each. Then there are community submitted questions which have been provided to the candidates ahead of time. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to those questions. The time available may prevent our ability to ask all of the questions that were submitted. Our timer will be tracking the time, which begins in green as it counts down. It turns to yellow when 15 seconds remain, and when it turns red, time is up, so please stop talking. We ask that the candidates be respectful of the time allowed. If you speak beyond the time limit, your microphone will be muted. Today, we welcome the candidates for the office of the Board of Skagit County Commissioners, District 1 and District 2. The Board of County Commissioners is made up of 3 elected officials who each serve a geographic district of Skagit County. They're partisan elected officials and serve for a 4-year term. 2 of the board seats are up for election this year. Commissioners serve as Skagit County's legislative authority. They are responsible for adopting a balanced budget for each calendar year, adopting, amending, and repealing all county ordinances, appointing members of many county boards and commissions, and overseeing the following public services: public roads and public works programs, public health services, planning and zoning of unincorporated areas, emergency services or civil defense programs, and county park and recreation systems. At the time of election, each commissioner must live in the district he or she represents. Candidates are nominated in a primary election by ballots that are cast only in the district of the home district that the candidate will be representing. So that means that in the August 4th primary election, only voters in the home district will cast their ballots for the individuals running for that district. However, in the general election in November, all voters in the county will select the commissioners. District number 1 encompasses Anacortes and Fidalgo Island, LaConner, Bayview, Bow, Edison, and north to the Whatcom County line. District number 2 encompasses Mount Vernon, Conway, and south to the Snohomish County line. In the August primary election, there are 3 candidates running for Skagit County Commissioner District 1. 2 of those candidates are present this evening. I'll introduce the candidates for District 1 in alphabetical order. Would you please raise your hand when I call your name so our audience can recognize you? Candidates for District number 1, Mark LUNDSTEN and Ron WESEN. Thank you very much. As a reminder, District number 1 encompasses Anacortes and Fidalgo Island, LaConner, Bayview, Bow, Edison, and north to the Whatcom County line. For voters who live in District 1, these are 2 of the 3 candidates who will appear on your primary ballot. And there are 3 candidates running for Skagit County Commissioner District 2 in this primary election. 2 of those candidates are here with us tonight. I'll introduce the candidates for District 2 in alphabetical order, and would you please raise your hand when I call your name so our audience can recognize you. Peter Browning and Mary Hudson. So again, for voters who live in Mount Vernon, Conway, and south to Snohomish County line, these are the candidates, 2 of the candidates who will appear on your ballot for the primary election. All candidates had been invited to attend, and we did get regrets from 2 of the candidates. We'll begin with a 2-minute introductory statement from District 1 candidates. Let's begin with District 1 candidate Ron WESEN. Would you please unmute yourself and provide your opening statement?
Hello, I'm Ron WESEN. I'm running for Skagit County Commissioner, District 1. It has been an honor to serve your Skagit County Commissioner for the last 12 years, and I'm looking forward to doing that the next 4. I understand that the decisions we make today have an effect on future generations. As a 4th-generation dairy farmer, living in the house my grandparents built back in the 1920s, I farm out in the Edison area with my 4 brothers and my parents on an organic dairy farm, shipping our milk to Organic Valley. Skagit County needs to work very hard going into the future, making sure we spend our tax dollars wisely, make sure we maintain our good quality of life, and also maintain our natural resource industries that are able to thrive here in Skagit County. As the spinning with the COVID crisis that we've had here, all sales tax revenue will be down a little bit, and we need to make sure we are able to adjust. Just as you adjust your spending in your home with your checkbook at the kitchen table, we at the county have to do the same thing. There are certain things we're going to be able to fund, other things we're going to have to reduce and so forth. So my thing to you is we are going to have to spend your tax dollars wisely. The quality of life here in Skagit County, we have to have a safe, good community where we have good jobs, good schools, and ability for our community to live and work in this area. To do that, we have to help work with the cities to make sure that happens. We also have to support our industries that are already here. Our natural resource industries, our agriculture, our timber, our marine and marine services, our services are industries that are here right now. We have to do all we can to make sure those industries can survive going forward. Our tourism thrives because of that ability to have those industries in this area. Please support me, Ron WESEN, for your District 1 Skagit County Commissioner. I'm a leader who listens. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate WESEN. And now, District 1 candidate Mark LUNDSTEN. Would you please unmute yourself and respond with your opening statement?
Thank you. I'm Mark LUNDSTEN. I'm running for Commissioner because Skagit County needs a renewed vision. My family's home, and it is a beautiful place to live. But we have issues that need to be addressed, issues like affordable housing and our water supply, things that will not be resolved by the status quo. On top of that, we now are enduring an unprecedented public health crisis with COVID-19, and we need both to recover from that and also learn from that. Times are changing. I have served on the Skagit Planning Commission since 2017 and reviewed county policies and politics. For many years prior, I worked as a commercial fisherman and as an advocate for fish conservation and management in the Alaskan halibut fishery. I was an architect of the individual fishermen's quota program, which has become a template for other fisheries. My record is of working on local, state, and federal levels and developing sustainable policies and solutions that work. The recipe for good government is the same everywhere. Research, honest deliberation, collaborating with all the stakeholders, full transparency, and lots of work. I will bring all of those ingredients to my job as Commissioner.
Thank you, candidate LUNDSTEN. Now we'll turn to the introductory statements from our District 2 candidates. Candidate Hudson, would you please unmute your microphone and provide your opening statement?
Thank you to the League of Women Voters and for TV 10 hosting this forum. I've lived here in Skagit County for over 40 years, so this really is my home. I care about the people who live and work here. During my time on the Mount Vernon City Council, I've learned how effective, efficient, and collaborative government works. I'm ready to continue working hard to bring cooperative, common sense government to Skagit County. We need strong working relationships between the county and the cities for all of us to be successful. When I am elected, it will be the first time that 2 women would serve together as county commissioners. I believe it's time for a new voice, a new vision, a new choice for Skagit County. It's time to demand accountability. I promise to work with and honor the office of every mayor in this county to fully understand and advocate for their needs. I vow to participate in all meetings with the cities, ports, tribes, and PUD who all work for the betterment of the county, as well as all committees I'm appointed to. I will do all I can within the county government structure to evaluate ways to streamline services that would increase efficiencies and save taxpayer monies. I will continue to listen to the Latino community. I believe everyone deserves a voice at the table, and I encourage discussion and decision based on strategic goals and fact-finding. I'm proud of the fact that we are embarking together on the permanent supported housing project here in Mount Vernon, partnering with Skagit County, the City of Mount Vernon, Catholic Housing Services, and our state and federal governments. The project will serve the needs of the most vulnerable in our community, and it's very exciting to see it moving forward. With my work on the Skagit County Farm Bureau, I strive to advocate for our large agricultural community and also thoughtful economic growth for our valley. I will always work towards bettering the lives of the citizens of Skagit County. Please visit my website at maryforcommissioner.com for more information, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you, District 1 candidate Hudson. And now, District 1 candidate Browning. Peter Browning, would you please unmute your microphone and provide your opening statement?
So why should you vote for me? I know how to work collaboratively for the betterment of Skagit citizens. I've successfully worked in government and in business where I was able to get people and organizations together to work for a common cause and in the best interest of both. As the cities grow, the county loses some of its clout. That's okay. It creates an opportunity for us to do more joint planning, look for shared opportunities for successful projects, and to remember that ultimately we should be doing what's best for the whole community, including the cities. I understand the workings of city, county, and state government systems. This is very important for successful collaborative projects. I have a long history of collaborative projects where all participants feel like they got what they needed out of the relationship. I have a history of owning and running successful businesses. I started my first business as a farm kid at 9 years old. I bought calves and raised them to sell to feedlots. I owned a restaurant in Aspen, Colorado that was very successful, and I still own a healthcare consulting business, and I'm currently a hospital commissioner for Skagit Regional Health. I do not take on too much, however. I have lived by the motto of do fewer things and do them well. I expect department heads to prioritize the most important projects. Government has a history of starting and stopping projects with no visible outcomes. I don't operate in this manner. When departments bring ideas to me, I will require a clear idea of how the program will be implemented, how the outcomes will be measured, and what successes would look like. I will ask, is this a priority of government? I'm a fan of identifying the priorities of government and to use that model to develop budgets and to determine which programs will eventually move forward. Thank you all for watching tonight, and you may go to peterbrowning.vote if you would like. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Browning. We'll now turn to the questions that have been submitted to the candidates by the League of Women Voters in advance. Each candidate will be asked to respond to the same question as they're called upon. And we have mixed it up so that they're in random order, not by district. So we'll remind you as we go along the districts that they are running to represent. As a reminder, you have 1.5 minutes for your answer. Would candidate Hudson please unmute and answer the following question? Please discuss your views on water rights issues, especially regarding rural wells and mandating connection fees.
Thank you. First, I think we need to determine what is the role of the commissioner in this. This is a state law. We need to abide by the rules of the state. So I see a commissioner role to facilitate discussions between the parties to mitigate some connection fees. Realizing that, of course, if we're mitigating with PUD, that is a separately elected board, and that needs to be done through them. The Department of Ecology has purchased water rights from Seattle City Light for landowners to begin the process of the permitting for the wells. So I think that they've taken a big step forward in helping to mitigate the situation. There are other options, cisterns or drilling where there's no impact to the river, or develop your own mitigation plan to submit to the county. And of course, there is the PUD piping of the water. But the biggest thing for me is protecting water for the agricultural rights. We do not want to disrupt our food supply. And at this point in our history, we have got to realize that we cannot afford to disrupt the food supply. I think we need to be cognizant of the impact to the farmers if we continually raise the rates that they need, for the water that they need to irrigate their crops. I think this is also the perfect opportunity to institute a 1 night per month meeting to come talk to the commissioners for our community to be able to come in all the time.
Thank you, Candidate Hudson. Candidate LUNDSTEN, would you please unmute your microphone and respond to this same question? Discuss your views on water rights issues, especially regarding rural wells and mandating connection fees.
In most counties, too many people, too little water, no quick fixes. The law protects Skagit River water with the in-stream flow rule. But for 7 years, as negotiations ended up in court and PUD supply to most newly developed areas were prohibitively expensive, new Skagit Basin residents asked, why can't I drill a well? Finally, this year, a mitigation plan in the Skagit Basin provided 340 landowners with water rights. The law also requires the county to protect vulnerable groundwater outside of the in-stream flow areas, like the Guaymas Aquifer. But there, residents ask the opposite. Why do you allow so many wells to be drilled? Too many wells has caused many to fail and threaten the whole aquifer. The Planning Commission recommended rainwater catchment as one remedy. We need to do much more across the county with other tools like the Trust Water Rights Act that enable water banks that allow users to conserve water for use later. We need tools like those as the population and water demands both grow. Creative, proactive collaboration is the key to addressing water rights.
Thank you, Candidate LUNDSTEN. Candidate Browning, would you please unmute and respond to the question? Discuss your views on water rights issues, especially regarding rural wells and mandating connection fees.
Thank you. Yeah, I ran the health department for about 20 years, and during the time there, I was often brought into water discussions. We were responsible for issuing well permits, registering them with the state, along with keeping good data where they are in the proximity to anything to challenge the quality of that water. Any discussion on water must be driven by some good data, not emotional. People mostly buy their property with the expectation of building, and I understand that. Most of my professional life, I've seen a real gap in our education for what to do with properties. For example, I think we should be educating our real estate agents so they make sure that our business, when people buy a piece of property, they understand the potential that they may not be able to put in a well. That has not gone on for a long time, and it really is important. So when you ask about the connection fee also, my question would be, who does it go to and for what purpose? That's not clear to me. If the fee goes to gathering and managing data about water consumption, that'd be very valuable to know. If the goal is to limit water, I'd like to think about what a realistic number of gallons would be. And Mark, I have to point out, we suggested 10 years ago, water catchment, rain catchment, and it was rejected. That would be a really good one to look at least for some of the subsequent uses of water. We've not done enough education around how to reduce water, and any efforts at metering water have to go with education so we can really understand how much our common household used. In the past, there were some discussions in Seattle City Light. I'm glad to hear, Mary, that the Seattle City Light, oops, I'm sorry. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Candidate Browning. And Candidate WESEN, would you please unmute your microphone and respond to the question? Please discuss your views on water rights issues, especially regarding rural wells and mandating connection fees.
The water rights, as mentioned earlier, the state of Washington and the Department of Ecology are the ones in charge of water rights. There was an in-stream flow rule put in place in 2001. The county didn't agree with it because we didn't feel there was enough agricultural water or exempt wells. We sued the Department of Ecology. They came to a settlement agreement. And from 2006 to 2013, we were issuing building permits to people who were doing what they're supposed to do. The Supreme Court came back in 2013, and they said that settlement agreement in 2006 was null and void. So we have now the 2001 rule in place. The 2001 rule does not allow adequate water for agriculture. One of the issues in Western Washington and the Western water law is it's first in time senior water right. Well, because the 2001 rule was put in place, that's now a senior water right. And during the summertime, the in-stream flow rule is 10,000 cubic feet per second, which is 4.5 million gallons a minute in that river. And so one of the issues is, how do we make the water go around? The problem is there's only so many water rights, and you have to get water from upstream to have use downstream. As mentioned, Seattle City Light was able to sell some water. Also, Big Lake, we were able to purchase some water rights there. The connection fees are based upon the water purveyor. They have to charge for their pipes and they have to charge for their meters. And so that's just, you pay for the meter and you pay for the water line to get to your property. That's what the connection fees are. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate WESEN. Question number 2, we'll start with Candidate LUNDSTEN. What do you see as the legislative and executive duties of the commissioners to ensure stable and sustainable funding to address homelessness in our youth and adults?
Almost 95% of homeless will be independent again. 100% are human beings. We offer them respect and opportunity. Funding for the homeless in Skagit County is essential. To maintain it, commissioners need to ask the available source for money and use those funds where it works and not where it does not. We need to keep track of that. We need to keep county efforts, importantly, in line with the GMA mandate, so we aren't at cross purposes and have to do in place what we've done in another. We can't reinvent the wheel. We need to find out if some other agency already does what we want to do. Oxford House and the Anacortes Family Center, among others, provide a wealth of experience and often extra materials. Most of the money to assist the homeless will be used in the cities. So the county will save money by paying attention to, coordinating, and enabling them. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate LUNDSTEN. Candidate Peter Browning, what do you see as the legislative and executive duties of the commissioners to ensure stable and sustainable funding to address homelessness in our youth and adults?
First and foremost, I think it's to ask the state and federal legislators to find opportunities for adequate housing. It's a hard thing to fund locally. I spent over 25 years working with local, state, and federal legislators, and there is a business argument to be made here. It's an economic issue. We're heading into a period of the highest number of people retiring and the least number of available replacements for those positions. The homeless people who do not have mental health issues or substance abuse issues are a potential resource. I volunteered to cook for a Skagit homeless place for over the years, and sometimes I go talk to the guys after the dinner and just ask them how things are going. And one guy said, who would hire me? I stink. I'm dirty. And he was right. We need programs like the Anacortes program, where they bring people in, they work on their budgeting, work on their cleanliness, work on their life skills, work on parenting, all the things that Anacortes Family Center is doing such a great job of. And then we can turn them to either some level of managed housing for a while or their own apartments. And they can have a tremendous impact on some of those moderate income jobs that we're going to be needing to fill so seriously in this area. The homeless also are the mental health issues, and they're not going to be very successful working. Probably the 0.1% of 1% was designed to address this population, but right now I'm a little more concerned that we've got a lot of young people who are not getting their mental health needs met. We can't spend so much money on older people that our younger people are being denied an opportunity to be better, healthy.
Thank you, Candidate Browning. Candidate Mary Hudson, what do you see as the legislative and executive duties of the commissioners to ensure sustainable and stable funding to address homelessness among our youth and adults?
Thank you. First of all, I fully support the continued use of the document recording fees for homeless services. That needs to continue. I would also like to encourage the cities to partner with the county with their House Bill 1406 sales tax monies that they will be receiving to enhance this funding. I think the best use or the best thing that the commissioners or the county can do is to consider repurposing or remodeling some of their existing facilities to grow more units, or even consider repurposing something into a homeless shelter. I think we need to work with the cities to establish facilities in each location for homeless services. Although we have a good transportation system, it might not be adequate to get everybody over to one location only. I like the permanent supported housing model that we are constructing here in Mount Vernon. Is it possible that we could duplicate that in another location here in Skagit County? And I'd also like to commend Commissioner Janicki for starting her meetings with the city mayors and the city police chiefs to work together on decisions to move forward, including site locations and the service model that we need to have.
Thank you, Candidate Hudson. And Candidate Ron WESEN, what do you see as the legislative and executive duties of the commissioners to ensure sustainable and stable funding to address homelessness in our youth and adults?
One of the things, House Bill 1406 was passed last year, and several of the commissioners were down in Olympia to help testify in favor of that. And those things are really important. We have a lot of restricted funds, the filing fee for the document filing fee and so forth. That money comes in, and we have a committee set up to help allocate that money out to different nonprofits and housing groups in the area. The Anacortes Family Center, we've been able, the last couple of years, almost $600,000 in different funding sources we've been able to come up with to help with that type of system. One of the things, some of the federal money, you have to have the coordinated entry system, which we do contact with Community Action, which is the one who coordinates that system. Basically, they have to, all the applicants have to fill out this application, and we have to house the people that the most need. And so there's a criteria you have to do. And some of the housing units, that's one of the issues that's come up with Anacortes Family Center. They require the education, which I think is a great deal, but the federal funds don't allow us to do that. And so there's conflict between the federal funds and what works in the community. Also, you know, we've done all we can with the different housing units. The supportive housing unit going into Mount Vernon, that's taken many, many years to get that gone forward. You've got to find location. All of our housing, we have to follow growth management. So the county can't build anything out in the rural areas. It has to be in the urban growth area or in the city where there's sewer available. And so we have to partner with the cities for all those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate WESEN. Moving on to the next question, I'd like to ask Candidate District 1, Peter Browning, what are the measurements or indicators that you think best define the vibrancy and well-being of Skagit County? And part number 2, what will you do to improve our standings in those indicators?
The measurement indicators is number 4. I'll go ahead and talk about those. Okay, so for housing, for measurement indicators, I would look at housing starts. I would certainly look at EDASC. For housing starts, I'm a real fan of rural villages, and they would be out of the farmlands. They need to make sure to have areas for activity trails, things like that. They're just a really healthy way of creating a community outside of the cities, but also out of the farmlands. EDASC keeps track of larger businesses, and the chambers know about the smaller businesses. So those are really good indicators of which businesses are here, which businesses are doing well. We can use some better data tracking to look at what businesses are successful and possibly why. The port additions are a really good indicator of new jobs coming in. Just recently, I was over at the Fairhaven at the bread lab, and they're introducing some new work with the Fairhaven organic gardening. Their garden grains is going to be just outstanding. Some of there's really incredible barleys and some great oats that are being sent all over the world. This is just a great new stimulus for our area in our organics, and also the beauty of being able to not just to grow it, but also to produce it. It's kind of like the value added part of farming is getting back to what I grew up with around here, where we always were growing things and producing them, creating jobs, a lot more money. It was a great way to get the best out of your crops. The employment stats, the commissioners, I would push for an even bigger footprint for the data gathering world. I think we need to, am I running out of time? I am around out of time. It's 2 minutes and an hour, 30 minutes. A minute and 30 seconds doesn't last.
Thank you, Candidate Browning. Sorry about the time limits. It's one of the things we have to deal with, I guess. District 1 candidate Ron WESEN, what are the measurements or indicators you think best define the vibrancy and well-being of Skagit County? And part number 2, what will you do to improve our standings in those indicators?
The Population Health Trust a couple years ago came up with some great trends, SkagitCountyTrends.org. That has a lot of different metrics there, and those metrics are all with statewide or federal databases. And so when you go to look at that, they can be updated, monthly or whatever. So there are a lot of good trends there. But as mentioned, the jobs coming into the area here, we have quite a few different companies coming in, making sure our schools are able to be funding. The levies and so forth are passing. Mount Vernon just passed some good levies there and just completed some school construction. Anacortes High School with new construction there. So those are all things that I think really help the community to be able to keep our young people in the area here and have good jobs. Working with EDAST and working with the different ports and the chambers, all those things are really, really important. One thing we at the county, we get permit numbers that come in, on a weekly basis, how many new building permits are coming in. And all those things are really important to see how the economy is doing. I know when I was in office back in 09 and 10, there was a dramatic drop off of building permits and development and so forth. So that definitely is an issue that we had to deal with at that time. Those are the things that people want to come here, want to build, want to live here. That is a positive trend for our community to be able to have us thrive and move forward. So I think those are some of the things. But once again, that's SkagitCountyTrends.org, a great website there, and you can see all kinds of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate WESEN. District 2 candidate Mary Hudson, what are the measurements or indicators that you think best define the vibrancy and well-being of Skagit County? And what will you do to improve our standings in those indicators?
Thank you. As has been mentioned, I am very impressed with the amazing work done by the Population Health Trust, and the information that is on their website is really fantastic. But as I read through, it seems like the top 3 concerns were more affordable housing, more and better jobs, and better access to affordable health care. So I believe it's time that we have some leadership from our commissioners to work with this data. I will lead a collaborative group to discuss and propose action steps to prioritize county-wide projects to enhance our infrastructure. I will attend the luncheon for the city of Mount Vernon to make sure to maintain my connection to our schools, the college, the hospital, EDAS, chambers of commerce, and learn about any municipal initiatives. I will attend any other such meeting in any other city as requested. And I would like to lead a meeting with all the city planners to facilitate a regional plan for housing. Each city has unique circumstances, and the planners are the experts that we should look to and learn from.
Thank you, Candidate Hudson. And District 1 candidate Mark LUNDSTEN, what are the measurements or indicators that you think best define the vibrancy and well-being of Skagit County? And what will you do to improve our standings in those indicators?
The beauty and bounty of Skagit County is obvious, from Deception Pass to Padilla Bay to the North Cascades. Likewise, our cultural heritage of Native, Latino, European, and a blend of all kinds is an obvious benefit we all bring and we all share. We have an abundance of human and natural resources. Taking care of our county, the people, the land, the economy, inevitably includes conflicts. And those conflicts reveal our strengths and our desires. How we resolve them is a good measure of our well-being. Our water problems are a simple example. Continue to work only on the basis who gets what. We will not resolve the issues. But if we have all the tools available to make a complex, diverse water policy work best on an area-by-area basis across the county, Then we figure out a solution that works. In short, we need to practice better deliberation and better collaboration to create better results. Our cultural heritage has to be our guide. All equals, rich, diverse backgrounds. Collaboration is all about learning from each other.
Thank you, Candidate LUNDSTEN. And moving on to our next question, I'd like to start with Candidate WESEN. How will you work to increase job opportunities in the county, especially for those in lower wage positions who've lost their jobs in the pandemic?
Like I mentioned before, Skagit County is working with the DIST, and one of the things that with the COVID money, we've got about $1 million. We're going to have EDASC help distribute that to small businesses in the community to help offset some of the issues we've had. We've been working with EDASC over the many, many years. They're the ones with the experts in working with businesses, working with the colleges, working with different training organizations to make sure we have good jobs and good educated people in our community to take these jobs. We have PACCAR doing a lot of things going on there. We have Legends coming in. We have other different industries that are here. We just have to help them get local, well-trained individuals to be able to come in and do their jobs there. And so that's working with the colleges, working with the vocational schools, working with the high schools, making sure that kids understand they don't have to get a 4-year degree. They can get trained in some of these local skills to be able to use in our community. And I think we've done a real good job working with EDASC and the chambers and the business industries to make sure we are able to provide the type of workers that they're looking for. It doesn't do any good to have a worker if they're not qualified for what the company wants. So that's what we've been doing, is working with EDASC. Thank you.
Thank you. And next to Candidate Hudson, how will you increase job opportunities in the county, especially for those in lower wage positions who have lost their jobs in the pandemic?
Thank you. The first thing I think we need to do is we need to slow the spread of COVID-19. I fully support Skagit County health officials' directives. They've done a fantastic job in laying out a guideline for us. We cannot safely reopen without slowing the spread. I know that the city received CARES funding and more CDBG funds, and we did establish some of those funds through EDASC to help with microbusiness grants. I'm very heartened and thankful that the county is following that suit, and it's a great use of that money and really, I'm sure, very much appreciated. I think the best way to stimulate the economy is for the county government to invest in infrastructure projects, because I think we all have them. They're projects all over the county that can be done. We need to support the cities, the ports, and of course, EDASC. My biggest concern, however, is for the businesses that cannot safely reopen until phase 3 or later. But we need to be ready to react quickly with grants specifically to those businesses that are not able to open right away.
Thank you, Candidate Hudson. And Candidate LUNDSTEN, how will you work to increase job opportunities in the county, especially for those in lower wage positions who've lost their jobs in the pandemic?
The most important step for economic recovery from COVID is to reestablish confidence. Lacking widespread inoculations from a proven vaccine, recover economically, and we are confident that we can go out safely in public. A good testing record, coordination with continuing education on masks and social distancing, is the most essential step to resuming at least a substantial portion pre-COVID lives. The more universal the test, the more quickly and safely we can plan more risky activities, such as going to the dentist or attending school. As Commissioner, I will ask the state and federal officials to provide enough test kits for a more widespread and systematic COVID testing and contact tracing program in Skagit County. Our Department of Health is doing a great job with the kits they have, and I'm sure to have more of them and a wide reach. The extra testing will help in 2 ways. It will require more people to do the work, and it will allow many more of us to go back same program could become an inoculation program. I would guess the Department of Health would be happy to take on that job as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate LUNDSTEN. And Candidate Browning, how will you work to increase job opportunities in the county, especially for those in lower wage positions who have lost their jobs in the pandemic?
Well, actually, we've been working pretty hard for the last 3 months, making sure people get the money that they need to keep their programs going. The money that Mary talked about that's coming is very much appreciated. Some of the money that the EDASC was able to distribute so these businesses can stay solvent long enough to the point where we have a turnaround in our environment. I'm not much of an optimist looking at the short term with the pandemic. Just today, they found they were reporting that people are not developing antibodies as they expected, which does not speak well for the possibility of immunization. So I think we're really looking into some long haul issues here. But in the meantime, our chamber's been working with high school kids, and some of what Ron was talking about, these high school kids, getting them working with businesses so that the businesses can take them on as paid interns, and if they like them, they can hire them. If they can't, at least the kids get to find out what jobs feel like. They can get a really good idea of what a successful business would feel like, and is that where they belong. We're looking at job fairs. I was part of the initial starting up the Skagit Homeless Connect. I was really disappointed in that we never really focused enough on jobs. We just did a lot of other stuff. This would be a great idea to kind of rejuvenate the Skagit Homeless Connect with a real emphasis on jobs, on doing job fairs while we're there, getting people into some of the lower income types of jobs. The county gives a lot of money to community action, and I'd like to see community action get a little bit more involved in jobs. That would be Dan.
Thank you, Candidate Browning. And we'll turn to our last question for the candidates this evening. Starting with Candidate LUNDSTEN, the staff plays a major role in fulfilling the day-to-day applications of the policies determined by the county commissioners. If elected, what do you see as your role in supporting the people who must skillfully apply the policies you enact?
As a member of the Planning Commission, I rely on the staff continually. National standards have always shone through. I will do what I did on my fishing boat, where I had 5 of the members in close quarters for almost half the year, and all of them well-trained professionals. I wanted to empower them as much as possible. When someone did well, it was acknowledged. I didn't raise a flag, but I wanted to let them know they did a good job. The job of the county staff is essential, like the crew on a fishing boat. My goal is to let them do their work with dignity and freedom, but to know that they are accountable. Those are the standards that should apply to everyone at the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate LUNDSTEN. And turning now to Candidate Hudson. The staff plays a vital role in fulfilling the day-to-day applications of the policies determined by the county commissioners. If elected, what do you see as your role in supporting the people who must skillfully apply the policies you enact?
Thank you. I believe it's critical to build relationships with the people you work with. And we rely on the directors to assimilate information and direct their staff. I would meet immediately or as soon as possible with all directors to understand their roles, how they see their positions, and what are their duties. That being said, the county structure is interesting. You realistically have 3 executives telling the department heads what to do. What we should be doing is directing the hired county administrator as to what the commissioners want done and leave it in her very capable hands. It seems to me that that would be the most effective and efficient way to convey policy directives.
Thank you, Candidate Hudson. And now, Candidate Ron WESEN. The staff plays a vital role in fulfilling the day-to-day applications of the policies determined by the county commissioners. If elected, what do you see as your role in supporting the people who must skillfully apply the policies you enact?
Thank you very much for the question. One of the things that we do on a weekly basis, we meet with the different department heads on a Monday morning briefing. And so we go over different issues with them at that time, with the administrator in the room. So she is able to hear what the 3 commissioners have to say on an issue. The administrator is the one who deals with the staff on a day-to-day basis. The commissioners deal with the directors, and we don't go down to the guy doing the individual employee, but we also have to support them in what they do. I was up the other day at the Skagit County College Testing Center. They had over 50 days of volunteers and staff doing the COVID testing, the volunteers to go through that. And we had volunteers there that had over 3,000 hours in those 50 days that have been able to come through and just volunteer to help make that testing center work. So I've done my best to go out and help talk to the different staff members and to tell them how much we appreciate what they've been doing, because the face of the county is the workers that the public deals with on a daily basis. And that generally is the day-to-day staff people. And so you have to make sure that those staff people feel supported by the elected officials and make sure they realize how important I believe they are to the community. And I think they do a great job. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Candidate WESEN. And now for Candidate Browning. The staff fulfills a vital role in fulfilling the day-to-day applications of the policies determined by the county commissioners. If elected, what do you see as your role in supporting the people who must skillfully apply the policies you enact?
In my almost 20 years with the health department, I had almost no one leave except to retire or start a family. I'm proud of that. Part of the reason is that I create an environment where people know what is expected of them, why they're doing it, and how the impact will be measured. The county used to have a very good manager training program. I'd like to see that again. It's very important that this is brought back. Done right, it will have we'll have better trained managers, and they'll all be managing similarly. The county staff are well trained and well managed. They'll have the confidence to step up and apply policies. They'll have the knowledge and the comfort that they have to support the county commissioners. Often people in the county will tell me that they're not told why a policy is in place. We have to be able to articulate clearly what is it that policy does? Why is it being enforced? So well-trained employees, well-trained managers, opportunities for them to further their education, and a clear vision of why a policy has been enacted leads to a very effective workforce and a very compelling arguments as to why a policy is being enforced. That's how I would change it.
Thank you very much. And that concludes the questions for our candidates. I want to thank you all for your thoughtful responses. We'll now turn to the closing statements, and each candidate will have 2 minutes. We will start with the District 2 candidates, and beginning with candidate Mary Hudson.
Thank you. And once again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters as well as Candy from Mount Vernon's TV 10 for facilitating the forum. I hope I've been able to show you during this short time that I really do care about all the citizens in this county. I will do all that I can to be transparent in my decision-making, open to meeting with anyone who asks, and willing to listen to all points of view. We are all in a very tenuous situation. I salute the Skagit County Health Department for their consistent outreach and messaging during this pandemic. I'm saddened by the pain that has been caused by this terrible virus. We have got to listen to medical professionals and science as we look forward to reopening in a safe manner. I'm ready to work with our cities and towns as they do everything they can to rebound from this economic disaster, so they in turn can help their local businesses come back strong. We need to be poised to take advantage of any financial assistance we might qualify for as the state and federal governments perhaps begin offering assistance to us. I'm ready to take the reins and be focused on doing what I can as a commissioner to facilitate recovery. I'm ready to look inward at all departments in the county system for cost-saving measures. We are not immune from this economic downturn. We need to make sure we are following the lead from our cities. These are very difficult decisions to make, and we are bound to be fiscally responsible in our actions. Our country is suffering from so much turmoil right now. I promise I will always be accessible and inclusive of all citizens, regardless of race, creed, color, or sexual orientation. Listening is key, and I will always listen because I really do care. I have served on city council for 5 years, chaired committees, and served on the boards of many nonprofits. I do have the sole endorsement in my race from the Skagit County Democrats and Indivisible Skagit. Again, please visit my website. Thank you, and I sincerely ask for your vote.
Thank you, Candidate Hudson. And now, District 2 candidate Peter Browning, would you provide your closing statement?
I'm committed to working for the good of 126,000 people in Skagit County. I look for sound solutions that serve all people. Planned growth and the creation of living wage housing is essential to healthy growth of our county. Having well-paid employees leave our community to go home to Snohomish or Whatcom County and spend their paychecks there is not a good business plan. We need good housing that does not take away from farmland. We must keep our farms strong, look for value-added opportunities such as our new flour mills, to keep farms vital. Small businesses are essential to our economy and a way of life. I'll make sure that the small businesses are encouraged, supported. 93% of our businesses in this county are small businesses under 25 employees. Successful small businesses not only put their wages back into the economy, they put their profits as well. This is also very good for the county. These are challenging times for the county budget. I've successfully owned businesses and managed county departments through difficult times. I've had to make the tough financial decisions. They were always done with good data, thoughtful consideration. Our current situation in the county jail needs some attention. There are options to incarceration of nonviolent people in our community. There's some people that say that the only people who should be in jail are the ones we're afraid of. I plan to put pressure on the county to evaluate options to expensive incarceration. I will never be the smartest guy in the room, but I know how to think when I see a problem. I look for the smart people, help me find a solution. What I can offer always is sound solutions to serve all people of our county.
Thank you, Candidate Browning. And now turning to the District 1 candidates for Board of County Commissioners, Mark LUNDSTEN, would you please provide your closing statement?
Yes, thank you. Since moving here over 12 years ago, I have been in as a filmmaker, a teacher, and as an actor. I have not run for office before, but I know how politics works and how to make policy that works. My record is of collaboration, hard work, and success. As a member of the Planning Commission, I have learned that the main job of a county commissioner is to have a vision for the future, a set of goals. My goals are for good government to the voters and not afraid, realistically face our challenges, growing population, changing climate, housing shortages, and still maintain the beauty and bounty of the Skagit County area. My values are clear. I know what it's like to work with my hands, to work in the elements, and to own my own business. My family has always been my first priority and remains so. I have a stake here. I want to provide a good future for them, and I think Skagit County needs a renewed vision. I will bring that. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for providing this opportunity, and I ask you, the voter, for your support and your vote. Your site at mark.org, and I thank you.
Thank you, Candidate LUNDSTEN. And now, District 1 candidate Ron WESEN, would you provide your closing statement?
Once again, thank you, the League of Women Voters in Mount Vernon, for having this Zoom meeting. I really appreciate the ability to do this. This is very interesting times we're all living in here because of the COVID. As mentioned, I think our Skagit County Health Department has done a tremendous job. The test site there, they had over 469 tests last week in one day. And so we're getting a lot of people coming into the county to be tested. One day we had 300 come through and only 173 were Skagit County residents. This is providing the ability for the whole community and the people who come up positive are being contacted right away, make sure they are isolated so they don't spread the virus around. I think that's one thing we're doing very well here in Skagit County. The other thing, our growth management that happens in Skagit County. We want to make sure any growth takes place in the cities or the urban growth area. We also want to make sure we preserve the agricultural land and the timberlands that we have here. We must work with the GMA steering committee, which is made up of the all the mayors and the 3 county commissioners, and also the planning directors from each of the cities are on the planning directors group. And so the information comes from them to the steering committee to go forward. One thing we have a big issue with is affordable housing and the vacancy rate here in Skagit County. One issue with that, Skagit County cannot build more homes in the rural area because multifamily or apartments. We aren't allowed to do that. Our zoning is just single family residences. And a good thriving community, you need to have a mix of all type of housing available to the community. When you get out of high school or out of college and maybe have a small apartment, you can marry, you have a couple kids, you need a larger place. And then as the kids leave, you need to have a smaller place or someplace else you want to retire. We don't have that mix in Skagit County, and I think that's very, very important. We get that mix coming forward, but we have to work with the cities to make sure that happens, because at the county we cannot make that. I really appreciate everybody's support the last 4 or 5 years. I think we're doing a great job, and thank you for your vote, Ron WESEN, Skagit County Commissioner.
Thank you, Candidate WESEN, and thank you all candidates for participating tonight. And this will conclude our forum for Skagit County Commissioner, District 1 and District 2. I want to thank TV10 and especially Candy Galindo and her wonderful team helping us with the recording of these forums. Many thanks to League of Women Voters members Kathy Ream and Lori Lawson, and friends of the League, Emily Raphael and Cindy Cohen, for their participation in tonight's forum and helping to make things happen. We invite you to learn more about these candidates. You can visit their websites, and we would encourage you to do so. You can also visit vote411.org, which is a resource that the League of Women Voters provides, and it allows candidates to upload information, more information, answers to questions that have been provided to them. You can also find us, the League of Women Voters, at our website, www.skagitlwv.org. We encourage you to take a look at our website. All people are welcome to be members of the League of Women Voters, and we hope you'll consider joining us. The ballots will be mailed on July 15th. And please remember, when you get your ballot and you have filled it out, remember to sign it and send it in either via the mail or in a ballot box by 8 p.m. August 4th. And if you're using the mail, please be mindful that it takes the Postal Service some time to be able to get that postmarked and to get that into the elections department. So would encourage you to spend some extra time getting it into the mailbox, or use that handy ballot box. There's 10 of them located throughout the county. And the ballot box, you have up until 8 p.m. on election day to register your vote. Thank you for taking your time to watch this broadcast. Please vote and encourage everyone else to do so as well. Thank you.